during this pandemic, how to get our finances in order, how to think about things that's going on during this pandemic, and how we can get back in shape with our finances during this pandemic. So, to get this evening started, we are I asked if you have any questions to please place the questions in the chat box. And if I can't answer them during the presentation, I will get to them at the end of the presentation and we will go over um, those questions. Tonight agenda, um, we are going to learn about what the government is providing to us, personal and business, in this time of crisis. Some of the hardship adjustments that we can make now with our finances. Budgeting, we're going to talk about how we need to revamp our budget during this time because our spending is a little bit different. We're going to talk about emergency funds that we probably, if we did not have them before the pandemic, that we know now that we need emergency funding set aside for us. Some of the basic questions about debts and bills and hey, who do we pay now? Which one will have the greatest impact on my credit, right? The next will be protecting your credit during this time of pandemic. The next will be about insurance. This is so important. It's not a topic of finance, but it's so important to have. I think all of us know during this period of pandemic how important it is to have insurance. And then the last, we will have questions and answer sessions where I hope I can answer all of your questions. But if I do not have the answer, I will make sure that I research it and get back to you with the answer. So let's get started with our first topic. The first topic is about learn what is going on with the government and what are they providing right now in the time of crisis financially. The buzzword we always hear is the financial stimulus package. I hope each and every one of you have received your stimulus package, stimulus money. If you have not received your stimulus money, you applied for it and you did not receive it, you need to contact the IRS and let them know that you haven't received it, you applied for it. Now, if you are a person who normally doesn't file tax returns, but needs to and haven't applied for the stimulus package, you still have time this week to go on the IRS website, irs.gov, and apply for the stimulus package. Going forward, a lot of the people are asking today, are we going to get another stimulus payment? Right now, we do not know if we are or not because of the change of presidents or what's going on with the president. So right now, we do not know if a stimulus package is going to be offered again. A second package is going to be offered to us personally. We will know. I don't know if we're going to, if the new president come in or we keep the same. We don't know. We have to, they will decide on whether or not a stimulus package will be there. The next thing is unemployment. The government has provided extension of government payments and additional funding. This is the next thing that we are not sure whether or not they are going to add additional funding or not to Social Security. Unemployment payment. What we need to know, and I hope if any of you are on here tonight, if you did receive that unemployment payment and you received the additional funding, the entire unemployment payment is taxable. So if you did not take out taxes when you received this unemployment, just think about it, your refund may be a little less than you would normally receive because unemployment is definitely taxable. Okay. As far as the extension and additional funding, that will be determined by the new president that will come in office. Okay. The next hardship that the government had been providing for us, and a lot of people did not take advantage of this, I don't think, because they really didn't understand it, is the payroll tax cut. So this goes up to December 31st, 2020. You had the option to let your employer know to withhold, to stop taking out your payroll taxes until the end of the year. That would have given you more money into your paycheck, but this money would have to be repaid the first quarter of 2021. So, in other words, you would get less money, you would take out no payroll taxes during 2020, but come 2021, they will double it to reimburse you for that money. So that's payroll tax cut. You still have time to request that information from your employer. If you have not requested, you still can request that you get payroll tax cut for the moment. Another avenue that we should be utilizing during this pandemic, our finance, is county and city assistance. There are organizations, not only the federal government and the state government, there are assistance in county and city assistance. I have seen some of the cities and counties, they have different funding, nonprofit organization funding that are providing some financial assistance to clients. So definitely take full advantage of that. The next thing that I think is really helpful is the food banks that are out here. You have food banks in all cities in every county that are providing free food service. Truckloads of free food service. I see people are in line. I hope you all are utilizing this services if you need it. Because if you get the free food, it'll clear up some income from you to pay other expenses in your household. So definitely you have your churches, you have your nonprofit organization, you have the food banks in Union County that will provide free food service, free food for you. And check with your city that you live in as well. The last thing is rental assistance. This is so important. I know the state this year, the state did have rental assistance. They have closed that window. But I know there are other organizations in the county that are assisting with rental assistance or assisting landlords with rental assistance. So if it is closed for you as a tenant for rental assistance, ask your landlord, has he applied for some type of rental assistance or mortgage assistance to make up with what you have not paid for. Right now, landlords cannot evict anyone at the moment unless they are causing some danger to the property or whatever. But if you need rental assistance, just you need to ask for it. So these are just some of the things that the government, our local government, our federal government, and our state government is offering to help us with our finance during this time of pandemic. And also, I don't have here listed if you own a business, SBA is out there. They're offering business loans. The PPP, of course, has closed. But if you own a business, that's another way of getting some type of financial assistance. So these are just a couple of things that you can research, reach out to your county, reach out to your city or your government official um, to ask for some of this assistance. It would just help to clear up some of your finances during this crisis for some of us who are out of work. Thank you. Thank you. Next. Okay. So, what we're going to talk about now is hardship adjustments. And so, what I say about hardship adjustments, these are bills that monthly bills, bills that we have that because we are out of work, we reduce hours, we just cannot afford it right now. These are some things that you can do to reduce your financial burden during this time of pandemic. The first thing is mortgage payment. If anyone here tonight has a mortgage payment, you should have called your mortgage company and place your mortgage payment in forbearance. It will not affect your credit score. It will not affect anything. Right now, all of the forbearance is up to December 31st, 2020. We don't know if it's going to go further, if they're going to adjust the time, but right now, everything is at December 31st, 2020. But what you need to do is definitely reach out to your mortgage company and ask them if your accounts are in forbearance. Don't just call them. You have to reach out to them, let them know you need some type of forbearance. You got to go back to the slide. You went forward. You got to go back. The next thing we have is student loans. So, student loans, if you have student loans, definitely that is in forbearance. It automatically stop your payments for 2020 until December. But my recommendation is you need to call just to confirm that it is on a hold because of the pandemic. And if it is on a hold because of the pandemic, you just want to make sure. So my suggestion is you call and reach out. But the student loans, they did put those on hold, on forbearance until December 31st. Some of the companies say you don't need to contact us. You probably received a letter or something from them. But my suggestion is you call just to confirm so that your credit score is not damaged in any way. The third thing is credit cards. This is so important. I don't think a lot of people call, but call your credit card company and tell them, hey, I need to be in forbearance. I have reduced hours at work. I'm not working at the moment. They do have a program to put your payments, credit card payments in forbearance. And while you're talking to them, also talk about the topic of reducing your interest. Interest has reduced. And so you want to ask them, hey, I've been a person that been paying okay, making payments on time. Is there something we could do to reduce my interest on my credit cards? But you need to call them and ask to put that in forbearance as well. The reason why you want to do this is because you want to free up as much finance you can at this moment. If you're not working or unemployed or reduce hours, it's just so important that you need to do these things and put it in forbearance. The next thing is car payment. If you currently make a car payment, you need to call your credit card company or whoever holds your loan and ask them as well to put that in forbearance. If you do not call them, they will not put your account in forbearance. But if you call and ask, pick up the phone, call and ask, they will do it. If you need to do it now just to catch up on some things, it's great to do it at this moment. You just need to think about it, call them, and they will honor your request. The next is payroll tax cut. I did mention earlier about the payroll tax cut. This will free more money coming into your income daily. Like they always say, long time, and I'm aging myself. $1 today is more than $1 tomorrow, right? So if you need those extra payroll tax dollars to pay whatever you need to pay off now, to just catch up on some of your more important bills, please do it. Payroll tax cut. Ask your employer that you want to stop your payroll taxes at the moment. Just remember you have to reconvene them and double them in the first quarter of 2021. The second one is utility. I believe the electric companies and the gas companies right now, by law, cannot turn your service off. It is getting cold in New Jersey at the moment, and so normally they will not, but I would say just call. You need to call them, you need to check in and say, hey, they also have some nonprofit organizations out there that will assist you in paying your utility bills. So that's another resource that you can have, but you need to call your utility company. And if you can't pay the bill, make a phone call. And they will sometimes give you organizations that works with them to help you pay your utility bills. Definitely call them. The next one is federal help loans, which can be whatever loans, student loans, whatever federal help loans you may have. You need to call that organization and ask them to put you on forbearance. Right now, if you're going to go on forbearance, this is the best time. It's only up to December 31st. We don't know right now what's going to happen, if if the numbers keep going over COVID, or they're going to extend this period of forbearance. We don't know that with any of these organizations, as well as personal loans with our banks. Banks, credit unions, places like that, give them a call. They will put your accounts in forbearance. Now, going over this, you have to think strategically here. If you're freeing up cash here to pay other things, or just to put food on the table, think about what's important and what needs to be paid at first. But you definitely need to call all of these organizations to make sure that you are in a forbearance status, and that they are not impacting your credit report at all. Okay? Because they can't do it to everyone. So we don't know with the new president. I'll be honest with each and every one of you, depending on who's in office, who gets in office, they are going to make these decisions for us as far as forbearance is going on. Okay, with this pandemic. The next slide. The next thing that is so important, if you haven't been doing this, you should be doing this now, or you need to be revising it, I would say, is budgeting. Now is the best time than ever. I apologize here. Hold on a minute. Can you see me? Okay, I apologize. Now is the best time than ever to sit down and think about your budget. Each and every one of us should have a budget of some type, a personal budget. This has forced us to budget in the time of pandemic, because we don't have any income, because our hours has been reduced. What the circumstances that's going on, our budget has totally changed. The parents that has children in the household where they're homeschooling, it has made adjustment on the budget, on your utility bills. All of this is a factor in running your household, your financial budget. So the best thing to do is create a budget if you don't have one, or you need to revise the current budget you have. Because let's say the parents that you're normally commuting back and forth, paying for bus fare, paying for gas, those things, that is extra money that you're not spending, but your utility bills may increase because now you're running lights, you're running heat, you're running AC all day long. So it's good right now to go back and revisit your budget. Um, I don't know, maybe in the chat, does everyone have a budget? Has anyone doesn't have a budget, considering the budget or anything like that? So today what I'm going to do is go over the simple way to create a budget. And we have also provided a simple budget that we can send out to you as well. So when creating a budget, let's think about it. Let's sit down and think about. First, we want to do is gather all of our financial income, financial information. That's all your bills you pay each month, right? The income you have coming in each month. It doesn't matter what resources of the income that's coming in, but you do have income coming in and your um, expenses. The next thing you want to do is select a budget method. Whether you, I'll tell you, I have always used a weekly budget as opposed to a monthly budget. And the reason why is because I would get paid every 2 weeks. And so for those every 2 weeks, I had to think about commuting costs, lunch, barbershop for the kids. I had sons, so I would put all of that in a weekly budget as opposed to a monthly budget. So select what method is best for you. You could do weekly, you could do bi-weekly, and you could do monthly. And I used to do the weekly one because what I did was I budgeted my monthly rent or my monthly mortgage. I budgeted that into 4 weeks so that at the beginning of the month when I pay rent, it didn't seem like I was paying a whole lump sum at one time. It was just easier. It just seemed easier to do it on a weekly basis. So you want to keep up with that. You also want to make a list of your income that you have coming in. If you're working, you want to put that in there. If you have child support, you want to put that in there. If you have Social Security, if you have pension, all of those are income that you have coming in. You want to sit down and write down your total income that you receive for the month. Okay? So that could be any type of income, alimony, um, anything that you have coming in for income. You want to write that down because you want to include that in your budget. You want to make sure your budget ends up with a positive number. The next thing you want to write down is your expenses. What do you spend? What are you paying out each week? Are you spending on takeout? Maybe you can reduce that. How much are you actually spending on takeout? How much are you spending on clothing? How much are you um, spending on lunch, things like that, grocery? You want to make a list of that because once you make a list of it and you actually see it on paper, you will understand it and then you will know what you have available. And so the basis of the budget is you're going to take the income minus the expenses, and that would give you the difference. That would calculate the end of that, will calculate, and that's what you will have left over for spending for each week or each month. I feel that the weekly budget is much better because now you can set aside a little bit each week for whatever you need to do, right? And if you do come up with a negative number, you need to go back and look at your expenses. If you have a negative number, look at your expenses and see where you can adjust that number. What can you reduce? What are you overspending on? What amount can you reduce? Is my cell phone bill too high? How can I reduce my cell phone bill? Do I have cable? Can I take something off of cable? Or can I get rid of cable totally? So to make that number a bottom number, okay, positive. And then that extra money, you want to use it to start saving. We all need some type of goal that we want to reach financially. Um, Whether you saving for a big ticket item, whether you're saving, as we all know, during this pandemic, we need it for emergency funding. What are you saving for? And how am I going to get there? But if you have a budget, you can really see, and it'll help you see the true vision of getting to where you need to be. And the last thing is execute the plan. Just do it. This is the time of in than any other time to start creating a budget and thinking about it, because you need one going forward. We don't know if the numbers are going to go up. We don't know if they're going to go down, or we ever going to go back to where we normally would be. But right now, I know each and every one of us, our way we are spending has totally changed. So think about a budget and execute that plan. Get that plan going. Thank you. Mhm. The big ticket here, and I think we all learning this, is emergency fund. Do we have, do you have an emergency fund? Right? A little hard because we're, some of us are barely making it, some of us, are just making what we can. But emergency fund we need to have. We learning through this time of pandemic. Did we have any money on the side? If we lost a job, if our hours was reduced, do we have an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a cash reserve. It's money that you put aside for unplanned expense. Some of the common ones, which I never have or never anticipate, is car repairs. Do you, if your car breaks down or something breaks down, do you have money that you don't have to take out your budget that you can make those repairs? If you had loss of incomes, some of us have during this time of pandemic, did you have enough money? And I know, like, some of us had applied for unemployment. It took a while for unemployment to send the funding. Did you have enough money set aside so that you can manage and run your household financially until the unemployment or the funding came in? These are things that we need to sit down, we need to think about, and we need to act on now. When do you start an emergency fund? Is now. Um, I can't stress this as much as I can. This year has been a year where it really put us to the test. And so, emergency funding, you hear it all the time. We always talk about it. Did you have emergency funding? Even if it's the lowest as $5 a week, if you can afford it, start some type of emergency fund. How much you need, that depends on you as an individual, right? It depends on you as an individual of how much you need in emergency fund. We as financial planners, we say you need to have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund. But life is, let's be realistic about this. Everybody cannot um, afford to have 3 to 6 months at one time in emergency fund. So if you could start as small as $5, $10, $15, Just put it away, put it in a jar, put it someplace that will work as well. How do you build it? You're just going to add to that fund. When you have extra money from your budget, you're going to allocate some to savings, you're going to allocate some to emergency funding. And once you do that, you would be surprised on how much that will grow, that emergency fund. Where do we want to keep this emergency fund? So that we want to keep this fund, this dollars, these monies in a place where we know we are not going to touch it. We are human beings, right? Let's talk about it. Let's think about this. We are all human beings. So, if we have a little extra money over here and we know it's there, we touch it, right? We use it for something that's non-essential. Make sure you keep this money in. It could be in a separate bank account. It could be a bank account that's far away, that's not connected online, that before you even get to use that money, you have time to think about it. Think about, is it worth using those funds? Should you be using those funds for whatever you want to use it for? Or is there other resources you can use to get whatever you need for that fund? So you can keep the fund. You can put it in an account that's drawing some interest. The banks are not giving as much interest, but it's some interest. Some people say they keep it under their mattress. I don't know, but or put it. You can do that as well if that's what you choose, more secure. As long as you know it's going to take you some time to get to that mattress, okay? Not when you see something, a pair of shoes or something, and I can go get this emergency funding. That's not going to work. So if you're going to use that fund and create emergency fund, place it somewhere that you don't have easy access to it. And it's going to give you time enough to think about it before you go and touch those dollars. Okay? Okay. Okay. Another question that we talk about all the time that no one really talks to us about. What order should I pay my bills? What's the priority? What debt and bills I should pay first? If I don't have enough money because of the pandemic to pay off everything, what are the things that we need to pay off first? I would always say your housing. You have to have a roof to live, right? If we don't have anywhere to live, of course, that's going to impact our entire life, our job, our work, the kids' schooling, everything. So if you need to think about some type of order to pay your bills, make sure your rent and housing and mortgage is paid first. That's just the highest priority, a roof over your head. As I said before, if you can't afford the rent, go seek some type of rental assistance. It depends on the county, the city, where you are located, um, to get some type of rental assistance. The second priority is your utilities and car payments, right? You need, if you have a house and you don't have no lights and no heat, what's the purpose of being in the house, right? You do have a roof over your head. So the second thing would be your utilities. It's not about, these priorities is not about your credit. It's about what's going to keep you whole as a person, as a family, right? Is your utilities and your car payments, because you need to go to work back and forth in order to get funding, wages to pay for your housing. So utilities and car payments is your second priority. Definitely, definitely. And your third one is anything else that you think is so important. Now, I I do have a little thing. I don't know, maybe some people can raise their hand. Utilities, the cell phone bill. I always come back to the cell phone bill because I'm just old school. We used to have that one phone in the house, but now I guess a cell phone is essential to is essential utility. I don't know if we include it as a utility or not. But I know definitely go back and look and say, hey, do we all need a cell phone? Can we all use one and two cell phones in the house or something like that? I don't know. That's your personal preference. But if it is and you feel that, then you need to look and see if you can reduce that bill some type of way. So on these bills, you definitely want to contact your lenders, your loan providers, and other creditors and say, as I go back, hey, place me on a forbearance. Or you could be on a forbearance and still make the payment. You're just doing the forbearance just to keep you in a safe zone, but you can always just request the forbearance and still make the payments. Okay, so if you feel like, well, I don't want to go on forbearance, I don't want it to mess up my credit. Right now, it's not going to mess up your credit, but it'll put you in a safe zone. It will place you there just in case you have to make a payment late or you have to skip a payment during this time of pandemic so that it does not impact your credit score. You want to make sure you call those providers, your lenders, and say, just place me in forbearance. And they have no problem placing you in forbearance, but you can still make your monthly payment. Okay? Okay. Thank you. The second one is protecting your credit. Right now, because some of us are in forbearance, it is not impacting your credit. But you must, and I cannot emphasize it more, that you must call your creditors, your lenders, and request forbearance. Because if you do not request the forbearance, then that can and may affect your credit score. So definitely protect it. As I went back to say, ask for the forbearance. You can defer or pay or pause one payment or make a payment. It's fine. They have no problem with that. You can still continue to be in forbearance, and make a payment. Even if you want to make a partial payment, you could be in forbearance and make a payment, right? But what we don't want to do is be counted as delinquent or any of our accounts, okay? It's so important. When you're doing that as well, on some of the loans with your lenders, if you have mortgages, if you have personal loans, you can call them and they're open to modifying your loans, right? You can ask to modify the loans. A lot of the mortgages, the rates are much lower now. You can ask to modify the loans. I do know you have to be out of forbearance, though, in order for them to modify or change your mortgage. But you can ask for these things and it will not impact your credit score, right? We went over the student loans, you have the other assistance. And when you're calling for these agreements, ask them for accommodations. The CARES Act calls it accommodations. So if we want to sound like we know what we're talking about, right? When we're making these phone calls, you let them know I'm calling because of the CARES Act for accommodations to my loan, right? That way they know or think or, like you know what you're talking about, right? When we say accommodation. And they will be the more than happy to assist you with this. But just keep in mind, right now, the CARES Act is up until December 31st. They haven't said what they're going to do or how or if they are going to extend it at this moment. But right now you can call and ask just to catch up on whatever you need to catch up on. Okay. And it will not impact your credit. Also, protecting your credit, be wary of people who are calling you. There's a lot of scams going on right now. A lot of scams going on right now because of the CARE Act. You are never, and I say this, I don't know how much I could say it. You are never to give your social security number over the telephone. The government will not call you. The IRS, the state, they will not call you and ask for your social security number. If they're going to call you, they will have your number, right? But because there's so many scams out here and people know that a lot of us are vulnerable at this moment, they are calling to say, hey, I can pay your utility bill down. I can help you do this. I can get rid of your loan or whatever. Do not, do not give anyone your social security number on the internet or on a telephone. So beware of all of the scams that's going on. You may get phone calls, you may have emails, you may have anything that people have access to our data and say, hey, they may see that I haven't paid the bill in 3 months, and call me to say, hey, I can help you resolve that. I can help you catch up. So please, I ask each and every one of you, please do not give your social security number to anyone over the phone, especially if we have some seniors on the phone. That is one of the number one biggest scams for senior citizens is over the phone, right? So please do not, seniors, be very wary of people who are scamming seniors and calling because they know that you are vulnerable. We are vulnerable. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Insurance. This here is really a pet peeve of mine is insurance. I am accountant by trade, but I truly believe in insurance. It is so important. And nowadays, because of everything that is going on with this pandemic, we have to start thinking out of the box. We have to be proactive, right? In what we're doing. We have to be proactive about our lives. We don't know what this COVID is. We don't know the impact. We don't know. None of us know how it may affect me totally different than it affects you. We don't know. And so, because of that, it is so important that you do have some type of insurance. If you are younger, the cheaper it is, you know, I would recommend to get it as soon as you can. Now, we want to make sure that each and everyone have some type of health insurance. If your employer doesn't apply for it, we don't know, but they still have the Obama insurance out there. We don't know if it's going to change with the presidential change or not. We don't know. That's an answer none of us can answer at the moment. But I hope each and every one of you have some type of health insurance. If you do not have health insurance, reach out to one of the nonprofit organizations in your area, in your city, in your county, someone should be able, the local hospitals should be able to direct you to some type of health insurance care. Okay. The second thing for me is life insurance. Because of what's going on, because of the pandemic, and that's why we are all on this line tonight, I hope each and every one of you have some type of life insurance. GoFundMe is not a life insurance. Okay? I say this all the time. You it To pay a monthly life insurance is the price of your eating out, right? Once a month or twice a month. Forego that outdoor meal and use that money to place it on some type of life insurance. You don't need a big life insurance if you can't afford it. You just need something so that your family will have some type of protection for you now. Okay? It's just so important that we have some type of life insurance. I think some of us don't think about it, or some of us just doesn't even want to think that way. But now, because of what's going on with the pandemic, I think it's shooking us all, and we need some type of life insurance. Okay, so reach out to a life insurance person and ask them what is the cheapest. If you could barely afford it, what is the cheapest coverage you have? And my suggestion is to get some type of life insurance. The third one is disability insurance. Um, I see a lot of times people do not have disability insurance. But let's look at this. If you were to get sick in any kind of way and you are the main income earner in your household, your family, you need some type of income while you are out of work. So you need to apply for disability insurance. You could do the Aflac or anything like that. We see Mr. Affleck on the TV, right? Um, just that little bit of disability insurance will be a relief for you and your family if you are out. And you know, you can, if your job provided, it's not that expensive, they can take that additional money out of your paycheck if you can afford it to have some type of disability insurance. If you have life insurance, there are some life insurance policies where you can add on disability insurance for a couple of more dollars, but it's so important to have disability insurance. Okay? It's so important. The next thing I have is renter's insurance. Um, I don't know how many here owns a home. Of course, you know, homeowners, you are required to have liability, you know, hazardous insurance. But I see a lot of tenants that do not have renter's insurance. It is so important that you cover your assets. Because you don't own a home doesn't mean you don't have assets. You still have assets. You have property, you have ownership. What's in your house, what's in your apartment, that is yours, is worth something. And so a lot of people feel that because they're renting, the landlord would cover it, right? Not all the time. You want to make sure you have some type of renter's insurance. And the last and not least, which is so important, it's not insurance, but it's definitely needed. We all should have some type of will and estate. Because you feel like you don't own a home, you still have assets. So you always need to have a will and estate. There are some websites out there that you can create a will and estate. Um, you need that just to protect you and your family going forward. And I'll tell you why. Usually, and I'll be honest with you, I'm an accountant and I work with estate attorneys all the time. And majority of the time, we as minority people do not have a will or estate because we believe that we don't own anything. But you need it because if you don't and you have children, the state is going to make that decision for you, right? Do you want the state to make that decision for your children, um, for whatever assets you own? Do you want the state to make that, which takes more time? It takes more time for the state to straighten out all your affairs. But if you had a will and the state and they know what your wishes are, it's much easier, right? So you need to take out and do some type of will in the state. It is so important. And because of the uncertainty with this pandemic, with COVID, we do not know, right? We don't want to think this way, but we have to think this way. And I'd rather for you to be proactive, right? It's just better to be proactive so that your family doesn't have to go through all of this. Because most of the time, when we are grieving, we don't think rationally. But if this is all set up, our families will be better off and would appreciate it, right? So definitely think about creating some type of will and having a will in place. And definitely with these insurance, we do need these now. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So that's all I have for this evening. My question, this is question and answer session. And so for all of you, I just need to know, is your finances in order during this time of pandemic? Were you able to change anything? Do you need to go back and revise anything? How are you feeling about your finances during this time of pandemic? Thank you.
Mary, I do have a few questions here that were sent privately.
Sure.
First one was, when you have multiple credit cards, in what order should you pay them off? Should you pay them off and not use them?
So, what order should you pay them off? I always say, long time ago, we said the one with the highest interest rate, you pay that one off and then you move down. Now it's saying pay the lower one, right? It's a trickling effect. Pay the lower one off and then go and pay the next lower one and the next lower one. Now, once you have paid a credit card off, we say do not close it because I'll tell you what, credit is just as good as cash. You need credit in whatever you do. And so basically, the insurance company, now some employers, people check our credit just to determine how we live our life. So pay them off. You can leave them open, but just do not use them. Or if you use them, pay them off immediately. If you're going to use it, say $20, pay the $20 off so that you have some type of credit history. Because the thing is, if you have no credit, it's just as bad as having bad credit. So it makes a difference.
Okay. Another question was savings. How often should you save? How much should you calculate out of your income or expensive? Hard to save.
Okay, so normally they have a percentage of what you should save for saving, but because we in this pandemic, right? And we don't know if your payroll has been cut, if your hours been reduced. I would say you can say what you are comfortable with at this moment, right? It's usually like 10%, 15%, but whatever you are comfortable with saving to just get started. Even if you just have it in your head, okay, I can sacrifice $20 a $20 a week. I'm not going to eat out, right? I'm not going to spend this on Wendy's, right? I'm going to put this in my savings. So just starting with something is better than nothing at all. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not sure if this was a question or a comment. June CARES Act, Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. If you can elaborate a little, put it in the chat box for us, we can get that question answered for you. It looks like Betty, I had another private question about your will. How would you go about writing a will? But it looks like Betty might have
Yes,
answered that.
she
Best
did.
to do a
She
will
did.
with a
Thank you.
lawyer if you
Yes.
can.
Right.
Recording.
Right. She answered that. Thank you, Betty, so much for that. My recommendation is that you do reach out to an attorney, and I believe Betty has information in there for Union County for the surrogate, correct? That that you can get that information from. Correct,
Yes,
Betty?
yes, that's right. And or you can, uh, I'll look up the phone number. You can also call. I'll put that up when I get it.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. So, yes, the an attorney is the best person to assist you with that will. Thank you. And I see Tony has a
Okay.
question, right? After going into
Yes.
forbearance for several months, is the entire amount due at once when repaying the amount due? So, Tony, that depends on your lender. Um, that depends on your lender and what options they are giving you when you come off of the forbearance. So I know some of the mortgage companies has several options that you can select. So you would have to speak to your lender directly and they will give you the options. Just be very careful because they're going to run off this whole spiel to you about a page and a half in 2 minutes, correct? And so when they run that off to you, pay attention to what they're saying and be specific in what you need to know from them because they already have guidelines out of what they need to say to you in reference to these forbearance.
I was just asking for some clients because they got different answers from different mortgage companies. So what you're saying is true regarding mortgage companies. It depends on the mortgage companies, but I have clients who just had, all of them got different answers from the mortgage company. And so and it's not my field. So I was just wondering, is it general that they usually say, okay, you couldn't pay for 3 months, but now March you have to pay all 3 months, and that happened to one of my clients. So.
Right. Right. Tony, though, it depends on each mortgage company. And I said you have to be very careful. You have to let your clients know when they start, they have like this whole 2, 3 pages. I say they do it in 2 minutes. They read this whole spiel out to you in 2 minutes. And your client has to be very careful. But my recommendation is that, suggest to your client, always stay in forbearance, right? And then if they want to pay something, they can pay something.
Yeah.
Or just wait until the government make a decision. Right now, they're going by the CARES Act laws. And so right now, I think we're all good until December 31st on what they're going to do and how. But most of the mortgage company has 3 or 4 options.
Okay, I will pass that on. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Betty has put the information in there for the surrogate office for Union County, right?
Yep, and I can shoot that email out. Union County Surrogate's Office phone number is 908-527-4280, and I can shoot that information out after the presentation.
Okay, great. Well, look, I have a question for Betty. So does the surrogate office offers this service free or is it paid? Do they have
No.
to pay for it or is it free service?
No, the surrogate will not do your will for you, but they give you information about how you should do your will and what kinds of things should be included and how you can do your planning for in case you die, so that it'll be easier on your family. Well, I'll tell you a story. In my family, there was someone who died who we thought had a will, and we got into his safety deposit box, but it was the copy of his will. It wasn't the original will. And so when someone dies, the will goes to the surrogate's office, but they would not accept the copy. So then we had to go through a procedure, and the surrogate's office advised us about having someone declared an administrator and all this stuff. And I mean, in the long run, it wasn't even a lot of money that was involved, but you still need to go through the way that it's legally required. So that's why, the surrogate's office can help answer some basic questions. And then maybe Ms. Forbes could recommend some lawyers. I mean, I wish I could recommend some cheap lawyers. I should say inexpensive lawyers, because it seems like everybody charges, a fee, and so it's just something to be. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Surrogate's office has a booklet, and actually it's online, or they have copies actually of the procedure for when a person dies with the will, and you can't probate it for 11 days. It's like on the 11th day, then you can do it.
Right.
But they do have a booklet, and I've probated wills in every single county, and they're all really nice people in the surrogate's office. They are probably the nicest clerks. I mean, most of the clerks are nice, but they are very sensitive to people's situations and to the fact that someone has lost someone. So they are very, very helpful. Like I said, I've dealt with them all over the state, and I've yet to meet a surrogate clerk who won't help or guide you to in some way. They can't give you legal advice, but they will help. And they have, like I said, online for each county. If you go to the surrogate county website, you will find information about probating a will or administering an estate. And even if there is a copy of the will, there is a path to having that will probated, but it's through the court rather than the surrogates. It's through the superior court. So you can go through the court and have a court. It's a hearing. It's not really a big old trial, but it's mostly like a hearing. And if you really want the will to stand. And it's really looking to see the intent of the person who made the will. What was their intent? What did they want to happen? And the courts generally try to adhere to that as best they can. If you got 10 different wills, then you go to administration. But if you have one that substantially shows the intent of the testator, then they don't automatically throw out a will because it's not the original. But having the original is very, very important. It's very, very important. It saves time and money.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Forbes. See? Thank you. You and Betty. Thank you so much for that. So it's so important though. It really, we can't express how important it is to have the will in this state during this time of pandemic, you know. So it's great. Thank you so much, Ms. Forbes and Betty. Yes. Any more questions?
Happy to help. Happy to help.
Anyone else have any questions?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So thank you all. My contact information is there. If you have any questions or need any assistance financially, I am here. I'm here to assist you in any way you have any questions, any of the taxes. I tell you, the new tax laws has not come out as of yet. We don't have any definites on if there's going to be any changes, if it's going to stay the same or any of that stuff. So once we get that information, we'll be available to talk about that. But right now, because we're doing, I say, changing of the guards or not changing of the guards, I don't know. We don't know what taxes are going to look like. But what we do know is that we are a little afraid with the unemployment because the people receive the extra funding for unemployment. We're hoping that everyone did take out taxes, but if they did not, then just expect for your refund to be a little less than normal if you did not have any withholding on unemployment. Any other questions?
Well, we thank you all for joining us today. We are hosting a series of virtual webinars as part of United Way's efforts to continue providing services and bringing content that are meaningful to our time. So we invite you to be a part of this effort by signing up to learn more about the African American Leadership Initiative. Visit our website at UWGUC/AALI. And for any additional virtual content, visit our website at UWGUC.org/virtual workshops. And we also ask you to visit us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. This presentation was recorded, so it would be made available to everyone in the coming days. So thank you all and
Thank
have
you.
a good
Thank
night.
you all. It was a pleasure. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.